Hippolytus and Phaedra. In Greece, Artemis was also widely worshipped as the goddess of chastity, and along with her they honored Hippolytus, a handsome young man who dedicated his life to the service of the goddess and by his death became the symbol of upright and honorable youth. Hippolytus was the son of the hero Theseus, king of Athens. His mother was the lovely Antiope, queen of the Amazons, who fell at Theseus' side fighting bravely in the defense of Athens. Theseus later remarried. His second wife was Phaedra, daughter of the famous king of Crete, Minos. After the king's second marriage, Hippolytus left Athens and went to the Peloponnese, where he stayed with his great-grandfather, the sage Pythius. Pythius, who was king of Thracian, made the young man heir to his throne. Hippolytus had inherited two qualities from his Amazonian mother: a love of horses and a deep-rooted adoration for the goddess Artemis. 4 splendid steeds drew his chariot, which he controlled with breathtaking skill. He took part in the Olympic Games, and when he returned victorious to Thracian, standing upright upon his chariot, the young people of the town ran to greet him as if he were a god from Olympus. Yet far more important in the young man's life was the worship of goddess Artemis as the symbol of the purity of youth. He spent the greater part of his time in the goddess' sacred grove, and he had become the dearest person in the world to her. The son of Theseus was the only mortal the goddess would meet and speak to. Together they hunted deer and wild boar. Together they drank crystal-clear water from shady springs, and together they rode in company, side by side. Artemis' love for Hippolytus was deep, chaste, and sincere. Sisterly, his love for the goddess was filled with respect, worship, and purity. However, Aphrodite, the goddess of love, felt insulted by the fervor Hippolytus showed in his worship of Artemis. She could not bear to see him pass her statue without even stopping to beg a favor or to lay an offering to her feet. "What right," she cried, "has he to ride at her side day after day? Mortals were created to worship all the gods of Olympus and not just one alone." And with these words, she waited for a chance to strike. Now one day, Hippolytus went to Athens and to attend a religious ceremony at his father's palace. Aphrodite knew that there would be his stepmother Phaedra, and that this woman would be the most suitable person to use a tool to bring about a young man's destruction. One shaft from the bow of her winged son, Eros, was all Aphrodite needed to make Phaedra forget her love for her husband and feel passionate longing for the noble youth. Sure enough, when the queen of Athens set eyes upon the light figure of Hippolytus, her heart beat faster. Alarmed by her feelings, she tried to bring herself to her senses and think of the harm she would do to her husband, but it was impossible to listen to the voice of reason. The most she could do was to prevent herself from speaking to Hippolytus. Once the young man had left, Phaedra could find no peace. She was unable to sleep or eat, and became thin and pale. She was so thrilled with love. One day, impatient to see Hippolytus again, she went to Thracian. There she hid in the temple of Aphrodite, or the temple of the secret watcher, as it has been called ever since. From her hiding place, she could see the young man in the distance, and as he performed gymnastics, but she dared not show herself, and returned to Athens as secretly as she had come. A few days later, the great feast of the Panathenian procession took place, and Hippolytus, Phaedra, and Theseus found themselves in Athens once more. Throughout the festival, Phaedra felt her heart beating wildly, for the young man was standing close beside her. When the ceremony was over, she hurried straight up to the palace, hoping that there she might find some peace of mind. But as soon as she reached the terrace, she found her eyes sweeping the crowd for a glimpse of the fair young man. While she was watching, a splendid black horse was led forward. It was unbroken, and no one had yet succeeded in mounting its back. With his brilliant skill, Hippolytus seized the horse by his halter and bounded upward its flanks. The creature responded to its rider's will instantly, and reared upward superbly upon its hind legs, whilst all the onlookers marvelled at the handsome and courageous young man who tamed the proud stallion. With bated breath, Phaedra followed the scene from the palace walls, and when everything was over, she found Hippolytus alone. She decided that she must unburden herself once and for all. "Stay in Athens, Hippolytus," she begged him. "I don't want Theseus any longer. It was he who abandoned my sister Ariadne on Naxos. It was because of him that your mother was killed. He may even kill me. You must take revenge, Hippolytus. The goddess Aphrodite is on your side. Become the king of Athens, and I will be your devoted wife and queen." How little Phaedra knew of Hippolytus! How could such a sick idea find a place in her heart as pure as his? Betray his father, and it was fool, the renewed hero Theseus, whom even the gods admired for his brave and noble deeds. Betray Artemis, the eagle-eyed huntress to whom he dedicated all his life long, as if he could perform such a deed. Hippolytus fixed Phaedra with a gaze of such cold contempt that her heart quailed, and then he hurled the words in her face. "Never! Shame on you!" With a strangled cry of despair, Phaedra buried her face in her hands and ran to herself in the next room, whilst Hippolytus stood thinking only of his father and pitying within all the power of his soul. "Chryseus," he swore at last, "I give my oath, and I shall never tell my father what I know. Let her see for herself the injury she was ready to do to him." Phaedra realized, of course, what a terrible thing she had done, but she lacked the will to undo the harm. The one evil they pushed her to one another 3 times more terrible. "Never! Shame on you!" she ached, his stinking words. "But if I am lost, then you shall be dragged down with me." Then she tore her clothes, dug her nails into her arms and neck, threw her hair into disorder, and bustled for the room. "Help! Help!" she cried. In broken phrases, punctuated by sobs, she laid in the blame of the innocent youth. She then shut herself in her room and once more wrote a letter to Theseus, treacherously accusing Hippolytus of the crime she had herself committed. Then, pinning the note to her robe, she hung herself from the crossbeam of the door and brought her life to a miserable close. The frightful news soon reached Theseus. When he saw his wife's body and read the letter, he stood as if transfixed. He could not bring himself to believe the sight before him and the words he read. Yet his wife was dead, and how else but through the treacherous lust of his son Hippolytus? "How could I have been so blind?" he cried. "Turn him out and let him never again set foot in Athens." At that moment Hippolytus appeared. You are making a terrible mistake, father. I am not guilty. You hypocrite! You swore a vow of chastity to the goddess Artemis, and now you betray her, your father and your stepmother. It was you who killed her. Murderer! Get out and never set eyes on me again. Hippolytus did not wish to speak out, for he had sworn never to lay the blame of Phaedra. For this reason he decided to swear a solemn oath. Listen, father, I swear to Zeus that I will disappear without name or glory, without motherland and without home, pursued by gods and men, if I am able. And when I die, may my body lie unburied, my bones picked clean by birds of prey. I can say no more. Oh, ye gods, what a shameless liar! There's the body, there's the letter. Everything betrays you, ungrateful beast. Leave! I cannot bear the sight of you. Rather than reveal the truth, Hippolytus chose to leave. He ran straight to his horses, harnessed them to the chariot, and seizing the reins galloped off down the road towards the Peloponnese. As soon as he had left, Theseus again overflowed with anger. "O father Poseidon, ruler of the seas," he cried, "you promised me 3 wishes, now I beg for one of them. Do not let Hippolytus reach Troezen." "Why, Theseus, why? Why did you act in haste? Why did you not look more closely? Why did you turn to others for advice instead of acting in the heat of the moment? Blinded by your wrath, you took the rash decision and hurled the curse which brought death upon your son. And as for you, unlucky Hippolytus, your fate is sealed. You will never again ride victorious to Troezen, and the longing maidens will set eyes on you no more. You will never again run at Artemis' side in the cool meadows, and never so much as offer another rose to the goddess you adored, from now death lies in wait you upon your road." Unaware of the fate which awaited him, Hippolytus was now striking the Cyronian rocks, spanning along the rough and narrow roads that leads to Corinth, between the mountain and the sea. Through his heart he was bursting with grief. He guided his chariot with a sure hand over the winding rock-strewn way. Then, all of a sudden, a huge wave disgorged upon the shore, and monstrous bow which bellowed hideous as snorted water from his nostrils. He started horses, bolted and dragged the chariot toward the cliff's edge. Had anyone but Hippolytus been at the reins, they would have tumbled headlong to the rocky shore below. But there was not a charioteer in the world who could match Hippolytus. Heaving upon the reins, he arched his body back like a Norseman and achieved the impossible feat of forcing the bolting horses back upon the road. Pursued by the roaring bull, the horses dragged the chariot along the breakneck speed. Yet Hippolytus held them on their course, avoiding death by a hair's breadth every instant. In no time they had left the Cyronian rocks behind them, and were galloping madly towards the Isthmus of Corinth, with the bull still in pursuit. And here the end came. Although Poseidon's monster had failed to dash Hippolytus against the rocks, an old gnarled olive tree proved the final cause of his disaster. A harness bell streaming and a wing caught on a dry branch, and in a second all was over. The horses were hurled into the air, the sturdy chariot was dashed to pieces against the baluster, and Hippolytus, tangled in the reins, was dashed over the stones and wounded mortally. As he lay dying, the goddess Artemis appeared upon her chariot, bringing with her his father, Theseus. With an aching heart, the goddess revealed the whole story to the king of Athens, who now knelt, weeping, at his son's side. Then the noble youth gathered what strength was left to him, raised his head, and said with a very thin voice, "Do not cry, father. It was not your fault if you were deceived. I shall love you even from the underworld. And those were his last words. When he died, Artemis took the youth and buried him in the same grove that Trojan had first set eyes upon the goddess, and began his lifelong worship of her. Heartbroken at the death of his son, and at the great and irreparable wrong he had done him, Theseus came to a sacred grove and marked out the spot where a temple will stand. Soon a simple but beautiful temple rose at the side of Hippolytus' grave. Here the young man was worshipped as a god, and all the young men and maidens of Trojan brought a lock of their hair before their wedding, and offered it to Theseus, who had been so unjustly sacrificed. This gesture showed that they would go pure and untouched to their marriage vows. Thus Hippolytus continued to live on in the memory of the people of Trojan. Indeed, they never admitted that he had died. How it is possible, they argued, for Hippolytus to have been killed by his horses? No, the horses didn't kill Hippolytus. He lives. Artemis has taken him up into the sky and placed him among the stars. They show his grave to no one, but at night they would point to a constellation in the sky and say, "There he is." And from that day onwards the constellation has been called Antiochus, the charioteer.